Welcome back, Royal Sussex Squad family. Today we are stepping into a story that has the entire world buzzing. A story that cuts right into the core of the royal drama. Family bonds, power dynamics, long-held wounds, and the undeniable truth that Prince Harry and Duchess Meghan have stood tall through storms that would have drowned lesser people. But guess what? We are also witnessing a major development. And I mean major, because for the first time in years, Prince William has cracked the ice around his heart, just enough for the world to notice. And this tiny crack is sending shockwaves everywhere. And honey, when William blinks, the press acts like he built world peace. But when Harry extends an olive branch, when Duchess Meghan protects her peace, her sanity, her children, when they take the high road, crickets, silence, nitpicking, nonsense. But today we are setting the record straight. Because the truth has always been simple. Harry and Meghan were never the villains in this story. They were the ones being dragged, scapegoated, betrayed, and lied about, all while trying to build a healthier life for themselves and their children. But let's talk about what just dropped, because William has finally shown the smallest glimmer of willingness to reconcile with the brother he hasn't even seen in over 3 years. And why? Not because of the press, not because of palace pressure, not because he suddenly found emotional maturity. Oh no. It took King Charles and Princess Catherine, both recovering from cancer, to practically anchor him in place and say, "Enough is enough. Fix things with your brother." That's how long it has taken to get William to even look in the direction of peace. Imagine that. The whole world knows these two brothers have been locked in frost for nearly a decade. But now, with Charles and Catherine both facing life-changing diagnoses, priorities are shifting. And let me tell you something. Sometimes it takes real life slapping you hard before you remember the people who mattered before the institution got in the way. And that's exactly what's happening. Now, the moment that caught everyone's attention, and honey, it caught them off guard, was Prince William's interview with comedian Eugene Levy for The Reluctant Traveller. In a rare, almost unheard-of nod to Harry, William said, "I hope we don't go back to some of the practices in the past Harry and I had to grow up with." And you know what? That's not just a passing comment. That is William finally, reluctantly, acknowledging something he has avoided for 7 years. That he and Harry lived through certain traumas together that neither one of them has ever fully unpacked publicly. But let's be clear, William wasn't talking about the royal machine in some sweet, reflective tone. He was talking about modernizing the monarchy, and that is exactly where the shade comes in. Because, baby, you can't talk about modernization without acknowledging how Meghan Sussex, a biracial American woman, a humanitarian, an independent thinker, a global icon, exposed just how outdated, dusty and calcified that system still is. Let's not play games. William continued by saying he'll do everything he can to make sure the family doesn't regress. And while the media is praising that comment like it's poetry, what he's really saying is he doesn't want the next generation, George, Charlotte, Louis, to go through the same dysfunctional royal nonsense that both he and Harry had to endure for decades. And that is where the real tea starts boiling. Because for William to even mention Harry in public is a big deal. We're talking about a man who's gone 7 years barely acknowledging that his brother exists unless he's forced to. Suddenly, after the entire world saw the warmth, compassion and maturity of Meghan and Harry on display for years, now William wants to inch towards reconciliation? Sir, please, let's not underestimate the pressure coming from his father and his wife, both of whom have endured the kind of health scares that make you re-evaluate your pettiness. A source told Radar Online that this comment was intentionally made as an olive branch, and that both King Charles and Princess Catherine have been pushing William to stop dragging things out. And Queen Camilla, let's be real, has likely been saying the same thing behind the scenes, because that woman, love her or hate her, understands that grudges do nothing but rot you from the inside. And still, even with all that pressure, insiders say William will only engage under strict conditions. Here we go with the control issues. Here we go with the need to police every inch of the narrative. They say William wants any conversations with Harry to be supervised and handled with total discretion. Absolutely no spontaneity, no picking up the phone, no brother-to-brother conversation like normal humans. Why? Because William is terrified of accountability, terrified of being honest with Harry, terrified that the truth of what went down behind palace walls, especially in 2018-2020, could finally spill in a way that the palace cannot control. And let's be real, William knows Harry has receipts. Meghan has receipts. Everyone with eyes saw what happened. The public watched as Meghan Sussex was ripped apart, lied on, bullied, gaslit and smeared while pregnant, postpartum, and just trying to survive. And instead of defending his own brother's wife, William stayed silent. Silence is a choice. Silence is complicity. But you know who never allowed bitterness to poison them? Harry and Duchess Meghan. They chose healing. They chose truth. They chose boundaries. And yes, they chose peace. The article goes on to point out that Harry recently spent almost an hour with King Charles during a private meeting at Clarence House when he was in the UK for the Wellchild Awards. This was a big step, something that should have been celebrated. And yet William, who was only 100 miles away, didn't show up, didn't even attempt, didn't make room, didn't try. But guess who got blamed for that by the tabloids? You guessed it, Harry. Because somehow in their delusional world, Harry is responsible for William's choices, William's absence and William's ego. That's why this channel exists, to push back on that nonsense. Because the truth matters. The rift between these brothers goes way back, long before Meghan entered the picture. But the moment Meghan arrived, the moment Harry found deep, abiding love with a brilliant woman who saw him for who he truly is. The palace panic button got smashed harder than ever. Suddenly Harry was changing, difficult, pulled away, all because he dared to protect his wife. Meanwhile, Meghan's clash with Catherine, a clash that was blown out of proportion and twisted beyond recognition, became royal war propaganda. And certain family members, certain aides, certain media players used Meghan as a scapegoat for problems that existed long before she came along. Harry and Meghan moving to the US wasn't betrayal. It was survival. Oprah happened because the palace refused to stop the lies. Spare happened because Harry refused to let the world tell his story for him anymore. And now? Now Harry is entering a new chapter. A powerful one, a grounded one where he's reaching out with honesty and vulnerability. Just this month, he wrote a deeply personal essay titled The Bond, the Banter, the Bravery, reflecting on his military life and identity. The tone? Nostalgic, deep, emotional, and, according to communication experts, subtly reaching toward his brother. Harry is implying how much he misses his older brother, one analyst said. And you know what? That's real, that's human, that's love, that's pain. And that is why people respect Harry, because he does the emotional work. He doesn't hide behind PR walls. He doesn't bury everything behind royal protocol. He knows how to acknowledge the truth even when it's uncomfortable. But don't get it twisted. Harry missing the brother he grew up with does not mean he regrets protecting his wife. It does not mean he wants to return to that toxic environment. And it definitely does not mean Meghan isn't supporting him. It simply means he has a heart, a soul, a memory of better days. And wanting peace is a sign of strength, not weakness. And do not ever let anyone twist that narrative into anything else. Because here's what matters. Harry is open. Meghan is supportive. King Charles is encouraging reconciliation. Princess Catherine is encouraging healing. Queen Camilla understands life is too short for bitterness. The only person still clinging to ego and control is William. But even he is cracking. Even he is realizing the world is watching. Even he is understanding that the monarchy cannot carry another decade of this dysfunction. So, yes, the olive branch is there. And yes, Harry is emotionally miles ahead. And yes, Meghan remains the rock, the compass, the clarity behind the scenes. The future? The future depends entirely on whether William can grow up. Just enough to take that next step. And trust me, Royal Sussex Squad, the world will be watching. Make no mistake, Harry and Duchess Meghan have always been on the right side of history. They were right to protect their peace. They were right to speak truth. They were right to step back. And they will be right again when reconciliation comes, not out of PR pressure, but because it's rooted in maturity, healing and love. Before we wrap up, family, if you enjoyed this deep dive and want more powerful, unapologetic, truth-telling commentary from the Royal Sussex Squad, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. Leave a like, and if you want to support the channel, bless us with a super thanks. It really helps keep this platform going strong, especially as we continue pushing back against media misinformation and championing Harry and Meghan with honesty, compassion and facts. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for choosing truth. And as always, I'll see you in the next one, family. Stay blessed, stay sharp, and stay Sussex strong.